pausing a moment or two here. We're waiting for one more member to arrive, and he's in the building. He'll be with us shortly. See him, Sheriff? I think I do now. Thank you.
Willkommen weggefahren, wenn Sie möchten. We just need a drum roll.
Y'all want to applaud?
We should have a drum roll.
I wish y'all clap every time I do it.
Are we ready now? Everything's on. Thank you for the momentarily of commencing the meeting. Before we really get underway, I've got a little preference that I want to say here. Tonight is a marvelous night. It's a great night. You'll see later on for two various and different reasons. But it is also a sad night in that you have the departure of such great servants to this county that you will see as we continue on. And having said that, I welcome everyone. I call this meeting to order. Let's have our roll call, please. Okay, and now if you will stand, and we will have our invocation and pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day and for the many blessings of life. We pray that Thou would guide us through this meeting tonight, that all be done for the betterment of this county and the citizens thereof. In Your holy name we ask it all, amen.
Amen.
Let's face the flag, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Manager, are there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Motion to approve.
All right, let's vote. Mr. Rhodes? We've got two or three little items from Mr. Rhodes here, so we will commence now with him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have 4 public hearings for you tonight from the Planning Department. And the first up is a zoning ordinance amendment for wedding and event facilities. This was a request that came in about a month or so ago from Mr. Haddock. And it, of course, if we have a particular new use in our jurisdiction, just as an example, solar farms were something new that we didn't have in our ordinance previously. Before those are allowed within certain zoning districts, we need to include those within the zoning ordinance itself. So, in turn, that spurs on a particular amendment process for our zoning ordinance, and that's what we have before you tonight for wedding and event facilities. And first up, we will actually be adding that definition as well as the use to several different districts within our zoning ordinance. What it does do was to add a particular section for the event facility and also amend the table of uses within the ordinance. The way that we have it structured for you, as a recommendation to you tonight, is that it would be a conditional use. And remember, conditional uses comes back to this board for consideration. It would be a conditional use within the residential zoning districts in which it is allowed. That would be rural agricultural, rural residential, and also the R40 district. Within the non-residential districts, those being your commercial and industrial type districts, those would have certain development standards that would be required as part of that review and approval. So, some of these development standards include minimum lot size of 2 acres, a use separation or setback requirement of 30 feet from the property lines. Also, the noise levels have to be within a certain parameter, certainly within our Pitt County noise ordinance, and also not allowing any in residential districts after 10 p.m. The building size is also limited to 7,500 square feet. And structural requirements, it does, of course, have to meet both environmental health standards for wastewater management as well as the building code. There are several submittal requirements, and with that would be a narrative of what the proposed facility, how it would operate, including the hours of operation, the volume of events, and so forth, and then a site plan that would show where the parking would be located, the screening that's required, and also if there's any signage. So another portion of this amendment, as I mentioned, would be to add in the definition section, number 1, wedding and event facility, and number 2, agritourism. And why is that important? These types of operations are considered agritourism if they're on a bona fide farm, so they would not be subject to our zoning operations or zoning ordinance requirements. We've mentioned to you previously for some of our rezonings, and now also with these text amendments, there is a requirement for consistency or consistency statement. With this, we believe that the way it has been drafted, that these development standards, especially in the residential districts, will help maintain the property values. The screening and setbacks will also minimize any incompatibility in those areas. As far as reasonableness and those considerations for public interest, permitting this use would allow a particular service that's in demand now in our jurisdiction, allow it to be in place. And as an accessory use in residential districts, it would also allow to maintain the character and identity in rural areas of Pitt County. As far as our review process, this has been considered by the planning board back in October. Only one modification, which I've already mentioned, they did recommend a reduction in the setbacks from 50 feet to 30 feet off the property lines. And staff is in agreement with that now. So there's 2 motions before you after the public hearing tonight. First, to adopt the consistency statement, as we've discussed, and also approve the proposed amendments with the immediate effective date. And Mr. Chairman, we're ready for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I declare the public hearing open. I do not believe anyone signed up for that, but
There's one.
One, okay.
Alex Haddock, if you'll come forward, please.
Come up, Mr. Haddock.
Give your name and address.
Hi, once again, my name is Alex Haddock. Our address is 3674 Mobley's Bridge Road. I have been representing my mother and father, Dickie Haddock and Robin Haddock, throughout this process with the county. I thank y'all for your time tonight, and I just would like to go over kind of why we feel that this is a really good thing for our county. So backing up a little bit, I reached out to Mr. Rhodes after we have been doing this for quite some time. My mother, I'm a retired nurse after a long career with Pitt Memorial, has been hosting and planning parties and events for quite some time for family and friends. And after retiring, she decided that it would be a good business to have on the side. And as we have moved forward with this, held weddings and a few other things and decorated for weddings from county to county, all the way from Hickory to Bellhaven, we've realized that it would be a great thing for our business to be able to have our own venue located here in Pitt County. When I first reached out to Mr. Rhodes about this, we ran into an issue where there was no particular provision for someone to be able to use a residential property such as ours that does have a sizable amount of land for a dual purpose as a wedding or event venue type facility. So we kind of worked through the different options we had, and we came up with this as the best possible option. This would allow us, as well as anyone else who decided to do this in the future, to use our land, which we feel is sizable enough to have events on a regular basis. Right now, we're only planning on, once a month. But it will allow us to keep our business local instead of traveling all over the state. We have had issues with outdoor type events, raining out and things like that, and so that's just kind of what brought this to the forefront. So we really appreciate you all considering this amendment tonight. We have been through the planning board already, as you know. They were all unanimously in favor of this. We feel that it's a good thing for our county. We feel that it'll be a good business venture for us, as well as anyone else who would wish to do so in the future. We thank you for your time tonight, and I just ask you that you consider this carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haddock. Is there anyone else that desires to speak to this issue for or against at this time? If not, I declare the public hearing open. To the members of this board, on your page number 2 of your agenda, the 2 motions, and as was said right then, the planning board unanimously approved both of these issues, but on page 2, the 2 motions that Mr. Rhodes indicated were needed. Mr. Garris?
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a reasonable request. The planning board, as you've stated, has approved it. Our planning staff has recommended approval, and I would like to make a motion that we approve both of these motions as identified on page 2.
Second motion.
Very good. Let's vote. Okay, Mr. Rhodes?
Next, we have a rezoning request by Michael Bateman. This is actually a property that has been under your consideration previously. The request before you tonight is to change the current zoning, which is general commercial, to heavy commercial conditional district. So that is, remember, we have somewhat subdivided our commercial category now into several different versions of whether it's light, medium, or heavy heavy commercial. And tonight we have a heavy commercial use that's being considered, and this is the subject property. You can see it's currently, based on the zoning, currently zoned as general commercial, shown in red here. It's about 5 acres in size in a very somewhat rural area just outside the extraterritorial jurisdiction of Bethel, just south of there. With it, this is the actual structure that's already in place. It has been used previously for commercial operation. With this in place, this particular site had been used for auto sales, auto repair site. And again, to orient you, and this is showing what the future land use plan actually shows. This is just south of a commercial node that extends out of the extraterritorial jurisdiction of Bethel. This is the intersection of NC 11 North and NC 30, and it is just due south of that along NC 11. As far as the designation within the land use plan, it is rural residential agricultural currently, and it does allow for non-residential uses with frontage along major highways. And that's exactly what we have here with NC 11 providing the access for this property that's under consideration tonight. As far as the land uses within that general vicinity, you can see most of it's in agricultural production. There is one residence, again, across NC 11 from this particular site, and there is substantial separation because of the 4-lane in between those 2 uses. The zoning in this area is predominantly rural agricultural. Of course, if you go within the town of Bethel's jurisdiction, there are some commercial operations, including right at the intersection, and that being the northeast corner of the intersection of NC 11 and NC 30. The requested zoning for tonight is heavy commercial, and this is, as you can see, it allows for a wide range of intensive retail service or limited wholesale type uses. The conditional district is for a particular use. We have a site plan that I'll show you in just a minute for this particular use. It is for the wholesale trade of machinery, equipment, and supplies, and specifically equipment repair heavy, and that is for forestry equipment sales. And here is the property in question. Again, a little bit different orientation now. NC 11 is shown here on the bottom of the screen. This is the property in question, about 5.5 acres. It will require, since this is along NC 11, it does have a highway corridor overlay district. There is requirements for screening and buffering, and you can see that along the perimeter. Also, the existing commercial building shown in blue, along with the access point coming off NC 11. There is a requirement by the Department of Transportation for additional paving of the driveway within the road right-of-way leading up to this property. And also, just for your information, there's an area that has been fenced in previously that is outside this zoning limit, and we're advising them that within this area, they should move the fence within the 5.5 acre property and ensure all those types of related uses are within the zoning district. Again, for consistency, couple of statements here. The first one is that the site meets the locational criteria for this proposed use, and there are no residentially occupied structures within the immediate vicinity. As far as reasonableness and being within the public interest, this is an existing structure that's been used commercially in the past, and we do acknowledge that it would allow for the use of that structure and not require any other type of structure to be developed on somewhat undeveloped property that may be in that general vicinity. Staff recommends approval of this request and also the additional requirements concerning the fence and also concerning the NCDOT pavement requirement along the road right-of-way. Planning Board reviewed this at the October meeting and also unanimously recommended it. So at this point, we're open for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I declare the public hearing open. I believe Mr. Bateman, would you like to come up?
How y'all doing tonight? Appreciate your time.
How you doing?
I didn't know I was gonna have to speak, but I'm here to
You don't
answer
have
any
to, but we'll give you the opportunity
Well,
to.
thank you, sir. But if you had any questions about what the operation was, I'd be glad to answer them. We do have 3 full-time employees right now other than myself, and we will have 2 more probably the first of next year. And it's low impact, very quiet. And appreciate your time. Anything you need, any questions?
It's always good to have something like this to come before us. And as you heard Mr. Rhodes say, the planning board has gone through this very thorough and have unanimously approved that. And unless there are some questions of Mr. Bateman, I'll open it up to anybody else. Anybody else want to speak to this?
I have a question. When are you planning, I know the fence has been up there for a good while because I go there quite often. When do you anticipate that it will be moved in a proper
We're
location?
gonna do it between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We actually are leasing it from the owners.
Right.
And we have a contract to purchase it. And I talked to them last week, and they agreed to move it, said around the 1st of December.
That'd be good.
But that's on their dime, as per our contract.
Okay. So it's up to our planning department to see that it is done.
Yes, sir. The
Okay.
trees and the pavement, we've got all that planned to do.
That's good. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Anyone else desire to speak for or against this issue? If not, then I declare the public hearing closed. On page 10 of your agenda, ladies and gentlemen, you have 2 items there that is for approval by this board if you so desire. What's the feeling of the board?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Okay, Mr. Rhodes.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is a request for approval of the updated building codes enforcement ordinance. I will tell you, this has been on our work program for quite a long time. Regulations have changed, building codes have changed, law and administration policies have changed. And in all of that, several staff members, including planning staff, inspection staff, legal staff, went to a course during this past summer to kind of get up to date on all these items, and in turn, it was an opportune time for us to move forward with the update of this ordinance. So as you can note on the screen, and I believe it was in your agenda package as well, the last time this particular ordinance has been updated was back in 1992. There are significant changes as far as general statute, citations, and also making sure that our administrative processes are also listed within the ordinance if they're not specifically mentioned within the general statutes or other policies. So some of the specific changes that are before you that are included in the ordinance tonight. One thing that is not included in any of this, and we were kind of shocked by this particular statement, was that the building card itself, your building permit, we always have said it's required to be placed on site. There is no requirement within the general statutes that that be done, so that is specifically mentioned in the new language. We've also incorporated, as I mentioned, some of our permitting and inspection processes in here. We've updated and clarified the condemnation process. As you know, we from time to time have homes that are somewhat dilapidated and we get complaints about them, and our inspectors go out based on their knowledge and also the conditions of that property, determine whether that home is condemnable and what process needs to follow suit. Other changes include the lien agent requirement. This is something new that went in place a couple of years ago. That is required on particular projects per state law, so we acknowledge that. Also, the building inspectors will in turn begin verifying the setback requirements instead of sending other staff out if necessary. And certificate of compliance will go away. In turn, we will issue only certificates of occupancy. So tonight, if you have any questions, we'll be open for those, but there are two motions. The first is to approve the proposed amendments with an effective date of January the 1st. And also, of course, since this is part of our code book, we would also recommend the revised ordinance be included in that. One thing I did want to mention, these do not affect any of the fees that have already been put in place. It simply refers to the existing fee schedule, so we'll continue with the same fee schedule we've had in place for a few years now.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I do not have that anyone has signed up, but is there anyone present that desires to speak for or against the issue that's been presented? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. And on page 25, you have those two motions.
Motion to approve the proposed
second it.
amendment and adopt the revised ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, James.
Okay. Then finally, we have a conditional use permit for a mining operation. This should be familiar to you also, since the board dealt with this a few years ago. First up, though, this would require procedures, quasi-judicial procedures as far as the public hearing is concerned for the conditional use permit. And this is basically an extension to an existing mining operation. With that, there are several requirements that we go through each time. And of course, if there is an appeal to this, it would go to Superior Court. Before we start the process tonight, we're asking anybody that would like to speak to come up to be sworn in by the clerk.
Anyone needs to come up and be sworn? Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Details on the specific request, again, this is a modification of an existing conditional use permit. It's located, and I'll show you a map in just a minute. This is located at the intersection of Roundtree Road and Abbott Farm Road. And the comprehensive plan designates this area as agricultural open natural resource conservation. As I mentioned, this has been before the board previously. The adjacent property that's already under conditional use permit, this was in September 2012 and was approved. Tonight, for your consideration, is a modification that would allow for the expansion of the existing mining area. And the area that's included in this proposal would be an additional 6 acres. The total mining operation then would be right at 26 acres total. On the screen, just to orient you again, here's the intersection of Abbott Farm Road and Roundtree Road. This property leads right back to the Greene County line. This is Little Contentnia Creek, which is the boundary between Greene County and Pitt County. The area that's already under the existing conditional use permit is shown here. The area for the expansion is in the hatched area. As far as any existing land uses in the vicinity, there are a few subdivisions near the intersection of Abbott Farm and Roundtree. You can see those kind of on the front part near Roundtree and all along Abbott Farm Road. Also a few scattered home sites along Roundtree Road too. This is the site plan, again, that's required for any conditional use permit. This shows the existing track as well as the expansion. Again, the full track shown in red. The expansion area shown here, and it's about 4,000 feet off Roundtree Road as far as where that mining operation is shown. Here again is a blow-up of the area, the existing mining operation, and the expansion area. Again, 19 acres already within the existing conditional use permit, an additional 6 acres in the expansion area. As you're aware, this is one of our common conditional use permits. As far as the mining operation, there are specific requirements within our zoning ordinance, 100-foot use separation from the edge of the pit to adjacent properties. Hours of operation, this is only in cases of blasting. This is a sand mine, so there should not be any blasting involved, but if there is, there are particular hours of operation that are limited. Screening is also required, and of course, the state permitting operation also must be followed. With these conditional use permits, we also must go through several criteria to determine whether it's a use that fits into the surrounding area. First, will it materially endanger the public health or safety? Staff has reviewed this, and we feel like it will not, certainly based off its separation from some of the adjacent uses, especially the residential uses. Will it injure the value of the adjoining or abutting properties? Again, there's a sand mine in place there already, and this is just a logical expansion at the very rear of this property. We feel like it will not affect the adjacent property owners. Is it in harmony with the area? We believe that it is primarily undeveloped at the backside near the creek in this area, so we feel like it will be in harmony, and it is consistent with the existing land uses in the surrounding area. Is it in conformity with existing plans that have been adopted by the commissioners? We believe that it is. So 2 motions also for this particular item tonight. First, to acknowledge that the conditional use permit application is complete and complies with all the zoning regulations. And secondly, approve the conditional use permits subject to those development standards that we've reviewed already. There is one other one. On this particular site, as a stream feature that may require a 50-foot riparian buffer. We're requiring that as part of the conditions tonight. If it is exempted, we'll take that off. Otherwise, it will need to be shown on a subsequent plan revision. With that, Mr. Chairman, we're ready for the public hearing.
Thank you. I have no one signed up to speak to this, but is there anyone present tonight that desires to speak for or against this issue? I don't know where I said the public hearing is open, but it is, and now it's closed, with no one being available to speak. What's the pleasure of the board as to those 2 issues that you find on page 40?
I'll make a motion that we accept both motions.
Second motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I did get a call from a citizen about 2 months ago about the traffic out there, the heavy truck traffic, and the condition of the roads. And I went out there, and the roads had been completely repaired, and I really didn't see that much traffic. I called the lady back, and she was pleased that the roads had been taken care of. So that kind of solved that issue. My question is, by expanding this sand mine, I would conclude that it's not going to increase the traffic, but it will just simply extend the life of the traffic.
That is typically the case. When one is expanded, it continues its regular mining operations. It's just for a longer
All right,
duration.
that's what I would think.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrison. James, does that take care of the additional condition that you wanted, the motion that was made?
Those two motions also included that condition in the agenda. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have we voted yet?
No.
All right. Okay, next one, Mr. Manager.
Next, we have a public hearing regarding your fiscal year 2015-16 Pitt Area Transit System, and Rebecca Dunn's going to come and make that presentation to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Once again, it is time for the Community Transportation Program Grant. It's the Federal Transit Administration, on behalf of the Secretary of Transportation, apportions 5311 funding for public transportation projects. And Pitt Area Transit is the county's public transportation project for the 5311. What it includes is salaries, office supplies, administrative expenses. It also allows for capital. This year, the capital will be in the form of replacing computers in the office. They have met their useful lifespan. The state requires to have computers in for at least 5, and they have been there for 8. And it's definitely time to get some new ones. Part of the application process does require a public hearing to be held to gain input, and this year in administrative funding, Transit is seeking $159,839, which would require a 15% match of $23,977, and $15,500 in capital funding for the computers, the printers, and everything that goes along with that, with a 10% match of $1,550. So the total grant funding this year is going to be $175,339 and a total match of $25,527. It's an annual application. And the motion is to hold a public hearing and to pass a motion adopting the attached resolution for Pitt County and to allow the county manager to be the authorizing official.
I declare the public hearing open. I do not see anyone signed up, Mr. Manager, for that.
Yes, sir.
Anyone present that desires to speak to this or for or against it? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Manager, as a member of this PATS board, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
Second it.
And the $25,000 match is in your budget, right?
This will be for next year's
This is
budget
the-
process.
This is, so we will include it in next
In
year's
the budget process,
Okay, very
yes.
good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garris. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now we're getting down to what I spoke about earlier in the evening. We have 2 resolutions, and then we've got a third matter which we will attend to. But before we step down front, do we have a motion for resolution for Dr. Johnson and for Mr. James?
So moved.
Second.
All right, ready to vote? Step down. Dr. Johnson, I believe you're first up. Bob, you have any family with you tonight?
No, I do not.
Chairman Owens, we have a resolution prepared for Dr. Johnson. If you'd like me to proceed in reading it, I'll do so. It's beautifully framed. I'd like the audience to see this first. Bear with me because we've got a lot to read for Dr. Johnson. It's entitled Office of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners, Resolution of Appreciation honoring Dr. Thomas H. Johnson, Sr. Whereas Dr. Thompson has resided in Pitt County since 1967 and began his service as a Pitt County Commissioner in December of 1986. Whereas Dr. Johnson has served the people of Pitt County with honesty and integrity in Election District 3 for 24 years. Whereas Dr. Johnson led the Pitt County Board of Commissioners as Vice Chairman in 1990 and 2001 and Chairman in 1991. Whereas the citizens of Pitt County will long remember Dr. Johnson's many contributions toward improving their well-being through his work as a member of the Pitt County Board of Health and the East Carolina Behavioral Health Board. Whereas Dr. Johnson's leadership was instrumental during the county's transition from a single county health program to becoming a part of the regional local management entity known as East Carolina Behavioral Health. Whereas Dr. Johnson has been a strong advocate for the children of Pitt County by his involvement and support of the Education Compact between the Pitt County Board of Commissioners and the Pitt County Board of Education to improve funding and outcomes for the Pitt County K-12 students, and by serving as a member of the Pitt County Schools Health Advisory Committee, the Middle School Planning Committee on Guidance and Health, and as a PTA President Executive Committee member. And whereas Dr. Johnson supported the transition of Pitt County Memorial Hospital to the Vidant Medical Center, Vidant Health, to ensure the continued growth and improvements in health care to all citizens in Pitt County in the eastern region of North Carolina. Whereas Dr. Johnson served the people of Pitt County in the past year by supporting the redemption of the outstanding hospital revenue bonds, helping to reestablish the general fund balance to the established policy range of 18 to 20%, and supporting the 2013 Pitt Community College bond referendum. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby commend Dr. Thomas H. Johnson Sr. for his conscientious and able service to the citizens of Pitt County during his long tenure as a Pitt County Commissioner. This is adopted the 17th day of November 2014, signed by our Chairman Mark W. Owens as the Board Chairman, and attested by our Clerk Kimberly W. Hines. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Tom, on behalf of the boards, many boards that you have served with and for, the reading of this resolution is a small token of appreciation for what you've done for the citizens of this county. You have been overly and above and beyond the duty as a board member. You were diligent with your work, you progressed, you studied the situation and made a decision. Sometimes we didn't agree and sometimes we did, but you made a decision that was for the betterment of the people of this county, and you'll be sorely missed.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. James. Everybody now, wait later. Huh? You want all these changes to be here or wait later?
I don't know. I'm a blessed man.
You can do either way, what you want to do.
I think they're all very precious to me.
Do they all need to come down?
Yes.
All of them.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, no, let's wait.
All right, all right.
Go ahead.
All right.
Let's wait till the days go around. Hey.
Again, we have another beautifully framed resolution to honor Mr. James, and I'll proceed reading.
Please.
Again, the Office of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners, resolution of appreciation honoring Eugene James. Whereas Eugene James began his service as a Pitt County Commissioner in December of 1984. Whereas Eugene James has provided outstanding representation for the citizens of Pitt County and was an advocate for citizens' concerns from District 2 for 7 terms, representing a total of 30 consecutive years. Whereas Eugene James provided the Board of Commissioners with steadfast guidance and direction while serving as chairman in 1989, 1999, and 2004. Whereas the citizens of Pitt County will long remember Eugene James for his dedicated service on the Department of Social Services Board, Mideast Commission Board, Council on Aging Board, Pitt Greenville Airport Authority, Education Compact 2 Committee, the Pitt County Planning Board, the ABC Board, and served as a trustee for the Pitt Memorial Hospital, as well as numerous others. Whereas Eugene James was instrumental in the redistricting of Pitt County, representing Pitt County in Washington, D.C., in changing Pitt County from 5 districts to 9 districts to ensure the citizens of Pitt County are represented in a fair and equal way. Whereas Eugene James, throughout his tenure on the board, was instrumental in many major endeavors, including projects such as the implementation of countywide zoning, construction of and expansions to school buildings, the jail expansion, and countywide EMS. Whereas Eugene James demonstrated genuine and sincere concern for all Pitt County citizens through volunteer work as a Scoutmaster for 22 years, as a Little League coach, as a coach to the girls basketball team at Belvoir, Falkland, and a Sunday school teacher, deacon, trustee, and retired volunteer firefighter. Whereas Eugene James demonstrated his commitment to the public education as a teacher for 30 years in the Pitt County school system at Chicod, Belvoir Falkland, and North Pitt High School. Whereas Eugene James served his country honorably in the United States Army and is a World War II veteran, seeing action in France, Germany, and Austria. Whereas on August 18th, 2014, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners voted unanimously to name the Pitt County Commissioners Auditorium after Eugene James in recognition of his dedication to the citizens of Pitt County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize and commend Eugene James for providing stalwart and able leadership and diligent service to the board and to the citizens of Pitt County during his service as a commissioner, adopted this 17th day of November 2014, again signed by our chairman, Mark W. Owens, and attested by the clerk, Kimberly W. Hines. Mr. Chairman?
Gene, I've got a lot I could say,
That's right, don't say it.
but I believe that if you listen to what is on this resolution, it personifies your life in Pitt County, but not totally. In a few moments, we're going to have this true significance of your life to come forward. But I want to congratulate you as the dean of this board. You've been an inspiration to me as a person coming on, giving directions. Of course, you like I am, you talk too much a lot of times. But be that as it is, we get good results, don't we, Gene?
We get results.
Congratulations. We'll miss you, bud.
Yes. I'll get the staff to bring up the dedication materials.
Now we're ready for Gene's family.
Yeah, all of you come on now. I've been blessed in many ways, and one of the ways is we've got a big
let's put it in the
family.
middle. Or where was best for your camera?
Right here.
Is it good for the camera?
Where's the best?
This is where we said it earlier.
I want
That's
the
fine.
camera to see him and that. Will this camera you get if you put it right? All right,
Okay.
okay, good.
Mr. James, why don't you
Wait a
get over
minute,
by
Gene,
the...
you need to
Yeah.
come around here then.
I'll go anywhere you want me to go.
Y'all come on around and get around him, closer here.
Where you want me at, on that side?
No, you're right there, you're down there.
You step out towards the front.
Mark, you can come on up here too, you know.
Where is it?
There he is, yeah. He tries to hide sometimes.
Hey, good to see you.
All right. Excuse me, Scott.
Yes. Mr. Chairman?
You've got words of wisdom? Let's have them.
Well, tonight we would like to commemorate the action by the Board of Commissioners earlier to dedicate the Board of Commissioners meeting room in the honor of the service of Eugene James. And what we've prepared here is the signage, various signage that will be used throughout the building and in the meeting room to honor Mr. James. So with that, we will uncover this.
No, don't you do it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I said a few moments ago that I was going to have some more words for Gene. I've known him probably in an official capacity, other than his family, as long as anyone in this room. My first recall is Gene and Pat. This is what that union brought forth. They were dedicated to education, and as that resolution said, many, many other things, too many for me to say, Gene. But I recall Gene teaching, I recall Pat teaching, and I recall Pat being a supervisor. Education, government, and all of that has been paramount in his life. But the most important thing in his life has been Pat and what you see right here. His family came first. The other matters came as collateral matters, but he has been such a great servant and contributor to this county. Of course, he's got a lot more to do. He doesn't think he's retiring, but Gene, we all are appreciative and we love you very dearly. Now, you tell me who you want up here, Gene.
I think the three boys are.
Okay.
I think they can handle that.
Scott, you want to come around and kind of be illustrative verbally with what you see right?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Basically, the blue signage will be signage that is used downstairs in the hallways. This will be used in the pointing our citizens to where the meeting room is as you come off the elevator, and the last one will be used for the meeting room itself. And this was action of the board took, again, about 2 months ago. I think Mr. Hammond made the motion to have this honor and designation.
Now, you want to go a little further and illustrate where it will be hung?
Well, again, the blue signage is out in the hallway. The sign here on the right is at the end of this hallway when you get off the elevator, and this sign here will probably be in the back of the room as you exit.
All right, Gene, it's your time.
Good. Let me say this, I don't deserve this at all. I'm not a county commissioner for me, but I wanted to serve Pitt County. I really did. And I think what we ought to always put first is people, not ourselves. And I made a lot of mistakes as a county commissioner. But the way I look at it, if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to do anything. And I have been blessed. I've been blessed in many ways. I've had the opportunity to work with some wonderful people. I think Pitt County is in good hands. You have good county commissioners. You have good leadership. You have a good manager, and James will have a good planning department. But we are blessed, Mr. Chairman. And thank you so much. I don't deserve it, as I said, but I appreciate it still.
How about the sons? What y'all want to say?
I'll just say that, one thing you didn't mention is a sense of humor.
Exactly.
And so, y'all have taken his time for the last 30 years. Now we're wondering what in the world he's going to do now. So we got to find something for him to do over the next 10 or 20 years at least.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, but for our family, we certainly appreciate the honor and appreciate the willingness to recognize his efforts and appreciate that.
Very good. You're not through yet. Two more.
Maybe I should come over here.
Yeah, that would be
We
great.
do know y'all have a long agenda, so we don't.
Normally, I'm a stickler for
Yeah, get
having
out of here.
agendas to go through, but tonight's a little different.
Boy, I usually prepare a lot for speeches. So I'm the middle son, Paul. I'm the one that's not living here in Pitt County. My childhood memory is my dad going to a meeting every night, or practicing girls basketball, or running the scout troop, or running the youth church activity. And boy, he sets the bar really, really high. And we all thrive under that. And so we thank him, as Pitt County does, because I think he probably sets the bar pretty high for you. And we have loved watching him serve because it energizes him. So I'm the doctor, and I have to, he looks to me for, well, how long do I have, Paul? And I keep saying, well, 10 years, 20 years. But now it really might be longer. So we'll see.
Very good.
Thank you.
Eddie, you want to
Really?
say
You want
something?
me to speak? I'm the oldest son, so I've probably been around the longest. And he went to a lot of meetings, but a lot of things that none of you know about is while he was at home, we would get all the complaints, the phone calls, and I know y'all get a lot of phone calls and you understand what I'm talking about. You don't get paid enough, because I know what he went through, and I don't know why he keeps going and keeps rerunning and being a county commissioner, because the pain and stuff, the complaints that he gets and all this, and he tries to do what's right, but the thing is he can't please everybody.
but he tries to please the majority, and he does good at that. I'm just glad he's home. Now he's going to keep me busy farming, and I'm going to keep him busy, because the thing is, he needs to stay busy, and I understand that. And we love him. We're glad that he's here, and we thank all the accomplishments that he's done as being the county commissioner, and also being a leader and being the head of this family. And we thank him very much.
Appreciate all of y'all coming.
You have,
Scott's got
you
another
have to
announcement
stay
to
for
have,
the rest of
Scott.
the meeting.
Yes.
Get back up.
We're going to have a reception at this point.
Get back to
Everybody's
work.
invited to the back room, the entire audience plus the family of Mr. James, and we'll resume probably in 10 or 15 minutes or longer. If you go in through the door on the left,
He makes a good living on it.
Thank you. We are now back in session, and once again, I want to acknowledge Dr. Johnson and Mr. James for all that they've done and what they've represented and how they have been assistance to us. We'll move on from that now. Are there any requests for public address to the boards, Mr. Manager?
no, sir.
All right. I believe you're up, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few items to report to the board on your next meeting dates. Your next meeting date of December 1st will be at 9 a.m., and the next meeting date of December 15th, 90 years from now. But actually, it says 2104, should be 2014. I don't think we'll be around here 90 years from now.
Mr. James, will you?
I won't be.
I'm planning on it.
I won't be at that meeting.
The agenda reviews that are conducted with the board members who choose to attend are normally the Thursday before the regular board meeting, and those start at 4:15, beginning in the month of December and going forward. Those will begin at 4 p.m. from here on out. Two other items that are not on the report. One deals with the groundbreaking for the Greenville Convention Center. They'll be having a groundbreaking at 8:30 tomorrow morning for the expansion and total renovation of the convention center. All this work will be done and will be ready for the 2015 NCACC conference that we'll hear about in a minute from our distinguished guests. And then one other item is we've had a request for letters of recognition to be prepared for 3 individuals, for Johnny Wooten, Timmy Jones, and Jim Rouse with CM Epps Alumni Association for their work on committees and their work that they've done on behalf of the Alumni Association. So as the policy states, those are signed by the chairman and then reported out to you as a board at a regular board meeting. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have on my items.
Okay. You ready, Glenn?
Yeah. Kevin?
You want to introduce him and say something about it?
Yeah, this is Kevin Leonard. He's our new executive director for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and he has with him Deputy Director Amy Bazin and Risk Manager Michael Kelly, Michael Kelly is a Pitt County resident, and he commutes every day to Wake County. We're glad to keep him and his property taxes here. Go ahead, Kevin.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you all so much for having us tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to be with you and to speak in front of the board. This is an extraordinarily special night, and we would like to say thanks on behalf of the association, Commissioner James and Commissioner Johnson, for your service that you've provided to Pitt County and to the counties of our state, and we are very thankful for that, and we appreciate you so much. So it's great that we have the opportunity to be here tonight to witness this. I was thinking as I was watching this, this is exactly why we do what we do at the association level, is that, and how lucky we are as your staff to be able to travel the state and go to county commissioner meetings like this. And I'm here to tell you that you have some extraordinarily talented colleagues around the state who feel exactly the same way that you do about serving the people in their counties. And that's a neat job to have, that we have. And we take it extremely seriously when we do that for you and serve you and work on your behalf in Raleigh. So as our president-elect Glenn Webb said, and we are really looking forward to having President-elect Mr. Webb, Glenn Webb, as our president of the association, and that's really noteworthy for Pitt County. And we're glad that you have stepped up into leadership and working with us as we lead the association in North Carolina. This is my first meeting at a county commissioners meeting as the new executive director of the association. So it's special for me in that regard, and I'm glad that I'm here for that. I drove last week to Macon County to visit our president, President Ronnie Beal, and he asked me to tell y'all hello from the mountains. Except he said it a lot more differently than I. Hey, y'all. So, but I'm not going to attempt to do my Ronnie Beal impersonation. But so that was special for me to get out into the mountains and see President Beal. But the next stop, official board meeting, was right here in Pitt County to be with you, Glenn, and with your board. And so I'm appreciative of that. Amy is our new deputy director. That was announced last week. That was a position that I held just recently. And she's also our general counsel, so she's extraordinarily smarter than I am when it comes to anything, well, basically anything, right, Amy? But especially from, as Janice will attest, from the legal perspectives, and we rely on her a great deal. And as you said, Michael Kelly is a resident here, so he is a Pitt County resident, and he drives every day to our office. If he's not there, he is traveling around the state taking care of our risk management needs for all of our counties. I wanted to share with you something that I did my first day on the job as the executive director. And Amy gets a pass on this because this is actually Amy's list that I gave her. So these are two members of our senior management team that you see here with you today. And what I did, and they didn't know I was doing this, but I gave them a gift on their first day. I gave them a camera, and I gave them this. And I laminated it, because when you laminate something, well, you know, it stays around for a while, and it's important, right, when you laminate it. And so I asked them, I challenged them to do this, and I divided our state up into 20 counties each. So they each got 20 counties. So this is why I said Amy gets a pass for this, because I had already scheduled this meeting and to come out here. That Pitt County is on her list, and I challenged our senior management team to do this, to come out and visit all 100 counties. It is critically important to me that we do what we're doing tonight, and that's visit with you, because we work for you and we represent you. And so I asked them to do 5 things. I said, come to the meeting, tell them who you are and what your role is. So we've checked that box. We've done that. I want you to describe the 4 major pillars of the association and why they're important. And those 4 major pillars are these: education and training. So we have an entire department. Our other deputy director, Patrice Rosler, builds annual conferences and other education and training opportunities for you, ethics training, and you're going to hear Amy talk about that in just 1 second. Extraordinary leadership opportunities, education and training, those types of things. We provide that on your behalf. Advocacy, which we're probably most well known for. Advocating on your behalf our legislative goals process, and y'all setting that goal, and y'all have been extraordinarily active in that process, and we appreciate it. We get to go down to the building, to the legislative building on your behalf, and we take it extremely seriously, and we also do it in Washington, D.C. Our member services, so the programs that you're a part of, the debt set-off programs that help your county and your citizens, the EMS programs and the risk pools, and research. Our 4th pillar that we're getting ready to start, and we're getting underway. We'll be hiring a research director soon. We should be the place to have all 100 county types of data available to you. If you need that type of research, you call us. We'll try to get it together. Not only are we a resource to you, but we're a resource to the General Assembly. Often we get called upon by the General Assembly to provide the impacts to 100 counties or to specific regions or a specific county. And we have the ability to gather that data and process it. So I wanted to do that, and I did it. I just did. Okay, so check. 3rd thing, ask you for input. Now, obviously not right now. If you want to, that's fine. But I wanted them to come out, do these things, and ask you, what can we do better? What do we do well? You might tell us that too. But what can we do better? What can we do for you? And I think it's important for us to grow as an association, how we take the next steps to take it to the next level. So know that our phone is always there, and you can always email us, or you can always just call me directly, and we can talk about those things. I like input. It makes us better when we have more of it. Number 4 is tell you thank you. Thank you for being members of this association. I think somebody said earlier, about your service, you probably got a lot of phone calls. I think it was your son, Commissioner James, who said he remembers a lot of phone calls at your house. And I'm guessing that all those phone calls weren't thank you phone calls. Or you get tons of thank you letters. Well, we are your staff in Raleigh who know what you're going through. And we're there to stand up for you. And we want to tell you thank you for the service that you provide in your county, that you actually care significantly about the citizens of Pitt County and what's going on here. We understand that, and we want to do all that we can to make your job as easy as possible and be more effective. And the last thing had to do with the camera, and that's I asked them to take a picture with themselves and the board, because I'd love to have a slideshow at the annual conference of all of our meetings with the county commissioners from across this state at a board meeting. So that's why I gave them a camera. And so Amy has her camera. I'm not sure we'll fit the shot in or when we can do that, but we'd love to have a photograph with the board. So with that, Mr. Chairman, those are the 5 things I've asked our senior staff to do around this entire state. And like I said, Amy just got a pass because I did it for her. But I appreciate the time. I'm happy to answer any questions if I may. And I know that Amy was going to talk about some upcoming events here in Pitt County and some other educational opportunities for you. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you on behalf of the board. Appreciate y'all all coming. Any questions here?
We
So you got
talked
someone
during
else?
the break, Mr. Chairman. He's gonna get your goals. He's gonna address that. He promised me that.
We do have a goals committee meeting this week in Raleigh, and part of the process is to go through that and work on your goals that have been forwarded along, and then they'll go to the board in December and to the full committee for the full membership in January at the upcoming conference.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman, our general counsel and deputy director did want to talk about some of the ethics
Very
trainings
good.
that are
Come
coming
up, please.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and we just really appreciate all the time that you've given us. And just to reiterate what Kevin said, we're here for you, so please do not hesitate to contact us. Any thoughts, questions, comments, and just briefly, really what we're most excited about is that we're coming here in August. It's August 20th to 23rd for the annual conference. I know for some of those who have done this previously, it may appear to be a very daunting task, and yes, it is. It requires a lot of planning, but as you heard from Kevin, we've really beefed up in Raleigh our education and conferences staff, so we are here to work with you and help you. So we don't want you to view this as an onerous task. There will be a lot involved, but we're here to work with you, and we look forward to that, and we're very excited about it. And also, just as Kevin mentioned, in terms of other training opportunities, we will have Essentials of County Government training that I'm sure your county attorney will give you more information about. We'll get those dates out to you, but as you know, after you're reelected, you have to get the ethics training again within 12 months, so that opportunity will be there as well. And we just look forward to working with you, and as always, if there are any questions we can answer or address, we are happy to do so. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Thank all of you again. Appreciate you being here. Stay in touch and let us know how we can help. Thank you. All right, Mr. Manager.
Next, you have your October 2014 tax collection report by Raymond Revilla.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The report was included in your agenda packet. The fiscal year-to-date collection rate for real and personal property taxes is 68.86%. And for comparison, the combined rate 1 year ago for real, personal, and registered motor vehicle taxes was 65.10. So that's about a 3.76% increase from 1 year to the other. Pitt County Tax Administration continues to pursue all outstanding taxes using necessary enforcement remedies that are available to us through the general statutes.
Have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All right, thank you, sir. Dwayne?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Next on your agenda is the monthly financial report for the general fund as of October the 31st, 2014. This report represents 4 months of fiscal activity, which would be approximately 33.3% of the fiscal year. Happy to report that year-to-date totals through October show that our actual revenues have been collected at a rate of 44.5% of anticipated revenue, and we have spent right at 33.9% of our budgeted expenditures. When we compare that to the prior year's 4 months of fiscal activity, shows an increase, our revenues in excess of expenditures of approximately $220,000. We continue to show stable financial performance through 4 months of activity. We do anticipate the audit report to be presented to you for fiscal year ending June 30, 2014 at your first December regular meeting. And with that, I'll...
Motion to accept?
So moved.
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know that official audit report apparently has not been done, but I see an official number on this report that I am very pleased about seeing.
Well,
Is that the audit number?
well, it is, if you'll note, it does have preliminary.
Okay, well, that's good.
In
So then
parentheses.
probably it will be higher than that, because I know your preliminary number is very conservative.
Mr. Garris, can you read that number?
A 19.98%, and I like to say, I appreciate all the work the staff has done in making that possible, and I also appreciate all the work and the steadfastness of the Board of Commissioners in making that commitment that we were going to get that number back up to our acceptable level, our range, our goal level of 18 to 20%. That is a significant accomplishment, and thanks to everyone.
Very good, Ms. Garris. Have everybody voted?
Oh, I don't think I have.
Thank you, Dwayne. All right. Next.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is a presentation by myself and our HR Director, Florida Hardy, regarding the classification study process we have here in Pitt County. I'm going to join Ms. Hardy down at the podium, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Tonight, we would like to present to you what we call the ongoing classification study process as it pertains to all the different job positions we have here in Pitt County government. Wanted you to know what we do on an ongoing basis annually and how this relates to the budget that will be coming up in the springtime. So Florida's going to start off, and I'm going to take the back end of the process.
Good evening. How did this all begin? Pitt County initiated a program in 2000 to systematically review county classifications. The last full review prior to 2000 was completed by an outside agency in 1994, so we had some catch-up work to do. Initially, a committee was formed from the various departments. A consultant was enlisted to work with the committee for the initial review of classifications and to establish an ongoing review process, which is what we're doing now. A salary survey tool was created and a classification review questionnaire was developed. As part of that process and the ongoing process that the consultant helped us develop, we created a rotation cycle. With that cycle, 1/3 of the county classifications are reviewed each fiscal year. To date, 3 full cycles of the review have occurred. Year 1 of the process includes clerical, administrative, and paraprofessional positions, and as you can see, we've done that 3 times. In fiscal year 2005-06, 08-09, and 11-12. Year 2 of that cycle includes technical law enforcement positions, and they were done in 06 and 07, fiscal year 09-10, and fiscal year 12-13. The last group in the 3-year rotation cycle is the management professional positions, which were studied in 2007-08 fiscal year, 10-11, and 13-14. I would like to note that there's one exception to these classifications that we can do absolutely nothing with. We can gather data, and that is social services and public health classifications, which are established by the Office of State Human Resources. So we have no authority to change pay grades on any of those positions. With the rotation, this fiscal year begins the fourth cycle, ongoing rotation cycle of the review process, and we're entering our 10th year. And we'll be looking at clerical, administrative, paraprofessional classifications this year. Comments that I'd like to leave with you before the manager starts is the county classification studies are relative to the base salary of classifications and not the actual salaries of employees that occupy the positions in those classifications. We've utilized this system consistently over the past 10 years, and we would like to note without this ongoing review process, it would be very costly to implement wholesale or large-scale adjustments to our classifications if we don't do it incrementally each time. And with that, I think the manager, you want to drive?
What you driving on? No. So just to go on that last comment about if we were, some counties will wait 5 or 10 years to actually look at the positions. They'll hire an outside consulting firm to come in and look at all whether it's 500,000, 2,000, whatever number of positions they have. It can cost a lot of money at one time then to bring all the beginning salaries up to a market rate. So here in Pitt County, we take 1/3 of the workforce a year, you know, the 3-year cycle, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, then we start over, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and we just keep going year after year. And we come before you with the recommendations to either downgrade positions or upgrade positions. Normally it's an upgrade, but we have come before you at budget, and you've seen we've had downgrades. So we're trying to make sure that our positions are competitive for recruitment, and I think Florida did make a good point that the process does not address current salaries or actual salaries of employees if you've been here 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The next part will hopefully partially address that question, and that is regarding our pay-for-performance system. What we're proposing, what we've looked at internally, is hopefully to restore our pay-for-performance system in next year's budget in the 2015-16. It's hard to say that. It doesn't seem possible it's 15-16, but it is. Come July 1, 2015. Part of this is based upon the fact that we have achieved the board's fund balance goal of 18 to 20%, almost hovering close to 20%. Also, that we have 2 years straight now, we have the structurally balanced budget in place. One thing we were thinking, though, recently was we have everything in place in terms of our revenues and our expenditures, but one major aspect of it is that we have not implemented the pay performance in 3 years because we were in the recession and we had to cut the budget. And so really we have a structurally balanced budget without pay for performance. And what this is going to do is recommend that this be considered in next year's budget. So this would restore pay for performance for all employees within the organization. It would also restore the certification program that was previously in place for law enforcement, detention, and building inspectors, where if they had a certain certification, they would receive a percent increase based upon that. I think it was 4.8. Obviously, this does assume that revenues are available, that there's growth in the tax base, and this is recommended for next year. But from what we're seeing, from the growth we've had, from the fact that we're almost to the point of exceeding the fund balance goal, as what the monies that we'll see fall back in the current year, that we should be at a 20% plus position budget-wise a year from now. We believe that next year is the year to consider restoring the pay for performance. That's hard to say. Again, reasons to restore it: 2 years of instituting the structurally balanced budget. In this period of time, we've kind of coined the phrase that staff is doing more with less and also within constrained resources. As you recall, we had the early retirement incentive where we were getting employees who had their time in to leave. Half of those positions we did not fill. Half the positions we had to fill. But in effect, we had, in a lot of areas, we were doing more with less, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that we have to bring all that back. But when we asked the employees to do more with less and do more with constrained resources, there was no, in terms of the performance evaluation process, where you could normally earn a 1.2 or 2.4% increase. None of that was happening. And admittedly, across any local governments, that probably was happening. But we are back to the point we feel that the growth in the tax base and our revenues, that we should be able to consider this strongly in next year's budget. And I'm sorry, yeah, the last point there on that slide is pay for performance rewards work performance. As as it has in the past. Next steps would be to continue the process that Ms. Hardy described in terms of our ongoing classification study process. And then the next bullet there is, again, based upon available new revenues, we'd like to evaluate the restoring of the 1.2 to 2.4% pay for performance system and the 4.8% certification system for law enforcement and public safety, detention, and buildings inspections. And this, again, would be for the next year's budget. And with that, I believe that's all we had, unless there's any questions.
I think it's a good report, Scott, and well taken, the 3-year split up that you're talking about. But I believe it'd be very beneficial if you'd bring a month, 2 months of here for, so we can have more in-depth discussion to alleviate doubt, to try to ponder for the future. I think it's well taken. Anybody else got any comments?
I agree with that.
The only thing, of course, I'm gonna be gone, but I think we need to look at ways to cut taxes instead of raising them. And getting more from our employees, that's just a
I
job.
think you're right, Mr. James, but what he's saying is not necessarily an implementation of a tax increase.
Yes, sir.
Well, have you
I
ever
know what
thought
you're
about
saying.
decreasing your taxes? Be the first county to do that.
Part of our concern is the retaining existing employees and recruiting new employees so they're not spun off to other organizations. And part of that, we can hold taxes if we have a workforce that is trained, qualified, and I hate to use the word motivated, but
That's why I think you need to bring it back. Mr. Webb, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I think this is a really good first step because for the last 6, 7 years, the employees have been patient and they've waited, and most of them have stayed loyal and stayed with the organization when there's a lot of them whose skills could have been used in the private sector, and they stayed with us. And I think this is a good way to go toward rewarding that, especially with bringing back the performance pay and plus the certification pay, because it's a lot of training hours that goes into those certifications and a lot of time spent and a lot of experience that also couples with that, and we don't want to lose that. But I would, I know that the sheriff's not up there for this one, but I would like us to take a look at that too, though, because if you look in the market of the county and comparable agencies, they're about 15 or 20% behind on starting pay. Starting pay at Greenville and ECU is over $40,000 a year for a rookie police officer, and so I think we need to consider that especially too. But that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's go. All right, Phil? Thank you, Mr. Elliott, Florida.
There we go. I got it. Tonight, I'd like to discuss the options that we might have at the Winterville waste site. If you look at the map on the screen, up at the left end, the circle is where our waste site is. Okay, got it. There's a road coming out all the way to Reedy Branch Road. It's labeled as existing entrance road. And for many years now, from time to time, Winterville has come to us and suggested that we might relocate the site. Never got to the point of requiring it, and we're again in the position of Winterville would like to have the site relocated. They have problems with noise at graveside services, and I believe they also feel they have aesthetic problems. One of the things that they suggested to us was to buy the property to the north where it says potential entrance road and build a road into the wayside outside the cemetery. But if you look at that, the red area is a buffer zone required by the stormwater regulations. The yellow hatched is another easement the soil drainage district has. The green would be the closest we could locate the road to the ditch. And you notice it passes right through the adjacent building. So that would not be an alternative. I won't try to go into everything that I've said in the abstract, but this is basically the layout and the situation we find ourselves in.
I don't think you got any alternative. Sounds to me like Winterville's worked with you over these years trying to get something. You just got to find somewhere to put it. And the alternative that they gave you I don't think is practical from what you've got in this material field.
No.
So I think you just want to find somewhere to put this. Mr. Garris.
Well, were you through with your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I rode out to that site last Friday because this has been an ongoing issue. And I was trying to think of some ways we could solve this issue and not move that collection site. I would hate for us to have to move the collection site. Number one, it is going to be extremely expensive. And then number two, it is extremely conveniently located for the citizens of that community. I know that Phil and John conducted a survey out there one weekend, and it's probably the second heaviest used site that we have in the county, the one on County Home Road being the heaviest. So I would really like for us to work out something with the town whereby we could keep that site there. Now, first of all, the noise when a service is going on is absolutely a legitimate concern. I would surely not want to be having a service for one of my loved ones on a big truck running up and down that road. Now, it's my understanding that that situation has been solved because our drivers have been told that if they're going out there on that Reedy Branch Road and they see a service going on, they are not to go into that collection site. And I have not heard any complaints about that over the last several months. So, I think that has been resolved. The other thing is that I keep hearing about is the aesthetics, the appearance. And it would appear to me, and I know Winterville has a beautification committee, and it would appear to me that we could put a hedgerow maybe and run it on the line between the Contentia collection site pump station and the line there of the property that Winterville owns where the old waste treatment facility was. And that hedgerow would hide the pump station, and it would also hide the collection site. And the development of that hedgerow could be in conjunction with the Winterville beautification team. And then the other thing that I have heard expressed over there is that cemetery is full, and we need to expand the cemetery. And it would appear to me that that space, and I don't know if this has been looked at or not, but that space where the old waste treatment facility is, that area could be cleaned off because all of that is contiguous to the cemetery, and that could be used as an expansion of the cemetery. What I would propose that we do is that we form a subcommittee to look at the various options as to what we could do that would meet the needs of the town of Winterville and the desires, and also the needs and the desires of the county. Because again, I would hate for us to have to move that. It would be very expensive. I would like for that committee, and I also met with the Winterville town manager last Friday and one of the council persons, and I also met with Scott and John. And at the Winterville meeting, we talked about having a subcommittee, And that subcommittee would be comprised, this is my motion, that we, and I know that the Winnable Board will have to approve this also, but we have a committee that would be comprised of the Winnable Town Manager, Terry Parker, and the Assistant Town Manager to be named, I don't know who that is yet, and then the Public Works Director of Winnable, Travis Welborn, and then from the county, we would have our County Manager, Scott Elliott, Phil, you would be a part of that committee, and then John Demery. And let that committee work to come up with some options as to what we could do to meet the needs of the town and the county so that we would not have to go through the tremendous expense to the county of moving that site. And moving a collection site is not an easy task. That whole area over there around Winnable is developing like mad, and finding someone who is willing to sell a piece of property that would be suitable, that would meet EPA standards, to put a collection site is going to be very, very difficult. So again, I would like for that committee to meet. That's my motion, that we form that committee. They come up with options, working with the town, the folks from the town, to see what we could do to meet the needs of both the town and the county. And I would also like for that committee to pursue the possibility of relieving Winnable from the liability associated with that collection site, and also guarantee to the town of Winnable that there would always be a collection site there that would be convenient for that community, and just deed that site over to the county. Now, at first reaction, some might say that that's going a little too far, but I know Bethel looked at their collection site, and with the liabilities and other issues, they concluded that that was the best thing for the town of Bethel and for the county of Pitt. And I would like for that committee to look at that option also. Again, recognizing that anything that committee recommends is going to have to be approved by the Winnable Council and this board. But that is my motion, Mr. Chairman.
I second it.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I want to ask this, Jimmy. About 15 years ago at Belleville, we tried, we don't own the one at Falkland. We went out and we tried to find a location. If you think you're going to find a location for a dumpster, and if you think you're going to find it in Winnable, you got a job on your hands.
That's the reason I think that we need to do what we can do.
And I'm very serious. We couldn't, Mr. Chairman, we couldn't get anybody to let us go. And we were going to pay good money. I want to ask this, Jimmy, who owns the property now?
Town of Winnable.
So they've got you.
So it's a joint partnership.
It is.
It's a partnership.
That's a good move. Have we voted on the motion yet?
No.
All right, let's vote. Thank you.
I think
All
you're
right.
right. I think you're right, though, Jimmy.
But they have, Phil, just one more thing to say. They releasing it to you, but now it's on a month-to-month basis.
Yes, sir.
So if the town of Weddle wants to be box stank all over it, you got to get off of it. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That's correct. They own it.
Okay, but that's why your overture, Jimmy, is good.
And also, if we have to leave, we have to restore it to the original state, which again is going to be very expensive.
It's a high-priced thing. We found out. Phil, you remember what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir, I remember.
Man, you ain't talking about 1,000. You're talking about hundreds.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So that money you got in reserve, it'll go away from you fast.
Yep.
All right, ready to go on to the anti-bullying?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, your first item for decision.
What do you say about it, John?
Joint resolution in support of anti-bullying. This is a follow-up item from a few months ago where staff was asked to prepare a joint resolution together with the Pitt County Board of Education. The county attorney, Janice Gallagher, and myself met with Dr. Linker, the school superintendent, and their county attorney, Rob Sonnenberg, and went through a couple of different drafts, gyrations of the joint resolution between the two jurisdictions, and finally landed upon the version you had before you. This was heard by the Pitt County school system and voted on earlier, and now it's coming before you for action and consideration.
What you think, Tom?
I read it and I sent Janice, congratulations. I think it's well-written, right to the point. And I hope that the legislature can be convinced to pass a law that would put some teeth into it, because right now there is nothing at the state level.
Beth, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna see if Tom wanted to make a motion.
Make it one
For
item.
us to approve it.
Okay, well, I make a motion that we approve it as written.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Not, let's vote.
I think it's good,
Okay?
very good.
Phil?
This item involves HVAC controls in the original jail out in the office park. As the abstract says, it's gotten to the point that we can't find parts to fix things that go down. Some of them have been rebuilt, but as we move ahead, you send 10 parts off, they rebuild 5 of them, so you can see how it's gonna become impossible to fix the thing when it breaks down. So his recommendation is to install non-proprietary controls in that section of the jail. And
Any questions of Phil? You see what the recommendation is, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation. I don't think we have a opportunity to do anything differently.
Mr.
I
Garrett?
do have one comment. I'm going to support this. I do support this, and I'm going to vote for it. But we need to be very cautious, because you see where the money is coming from. It's coming from that fund balance that we just built back up. And I know there's probably enough slack in there that we can pay for this and still get that 19.98%, because I know that's a conservative number. But we just need to proceed with caution.
All right. Anybody else want to comment? All right, have you voted? Dave? Mr. Hammond?
He got it.
Got you. Do we have, we've had a request for a closed session. Madam Attorney, will you head us there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A, subsections 1, to prevent the disclosure of confidential information, subsection 3, to consult with an attorney employed by the public body to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and subsection 4, to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industry or business in the area served by the public body.
You have a motion?
I say move.
Second.
All right. Mr. Elliott?
Yes, if I can ask, other than, I guess, management.
We're now back in session. Mr. Garris, have you got an issue you want to bring to us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the assignment of the June 4, 2014 Economic Development Loan Commitment Agreement by the Genome ID Group LLC to Aerogen LLC.
Second it.
All right. Mr. Webb, have you got something you want to bring to the group?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve our minutes from our October 20th closed session as to the content only. It's 2014.
All right, let's vote.
Second.
Any other business that is good for the cause tonight?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James.
Mr. James, do you have a motion?
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
David?
To move, what you want me to make a
Do you have a motion, Mr. James?
Yeah, I got a motion.
Well, let's have it.
The first, before, I want to thank you all for you're a good bunch of people and pulling for you.
Press
Yes,
confirm.
I move adjourned.
Second to that?
Yes.
I second it.
Let's vote. Thank you.
I didn't know, that was my last.